This recording is part D of the Christian religion. This is the series of the Christian religion recordings, and this is part D. Okay, now let's just jump into this scary mystical stuff, because there's lots here to see, and it's very mind-expanding stuff. And to get a real good understanding of it, we're just going to have to talk about it. And as we go into talking about it, you're going to understand, well, no wonder I never heard about this in church. No wonder the religious people don't want to talk about this. Holy criminy. But for the mission to come, in other words, take possession of the land, for the mission to come, it was all incredibly necessary. Especially in light of what I just told you about the other DNA strains that were there. It was incredibly necessary. I'll tell you another thing that was incredibly necessary. And we've all heard that song, Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Okay, well, you know what they were using to fight that battle? They were using frequency. They were using technology of sound. They were using technology of vibrational frequency. They weren't using, like, you know, a bomb or oh, let's launch missiles, let's throw hand grenades. They weren't doing that stuff. They were walking around the big, thick walls of that city of Jericho because they were going to take the city of Jericho. And if you think about it, they were blowing their horns in a certain frequency and they were affecting the walls. It was like, okay, walk around the wall so many times and do exactly what we're saying. And who the we is, that's what we're going to talk about. As in what we are saying. Do what we are saying. Now, if you were one of the people living in those camps, and it was more like a moving little tiny city is what it really was. It was a lot of people, okay? If you were one of the people living in those camps in those days and doing all the stuff they're doing out there, they had their little tabernacle and they were doing their little sacrificing and they were doing all this weird stuff, okay? I mean, today we look at it and go, God, that's weird. Shh, that's weird. But if you were one of those people, you were dealing with interdimensionals on a regular basis. In fact, I will go as far as saying this. Not only were you dealing with interdimensionals on a regular basis, but at a certain point in time, you were dealing with an intermingling of dimensions because the higher dimensional beings were actually living in and around and among your camp, like they were actually in the camp. Now, as we talk about this more, I want you to put yourself, number one, in the shoes of, you're one of the people there, but then I also want you to put yourself, if you can, I hope you can, I also want you to put yourself in the shoes of, hey, I'm one of the angelics. I'm one of the battling angelics. I'm like a kick-ass, top-notch, heavenly martial arts guy. Like, I make Bruce Lee and Jet Li look like, you know, they're playing tiddlywinks. And I'm teaching these people stuff. And not only am I teaching these people stuff, but I am preparing them so that we can step into them because we have this mission. And it's for this whole frigging planet. And it's for this dimension. And it's very, very important. Because Yahweh says so. And because Yahweh has explained it to us. We know it's incredibly important. Now, let me tell you this. And this seems like it's off the beaten path. But it's not. It's part of the explanation. So you really get a handle on what's going on here. Because this really went down in Earth's history. This really did happen. Not only did it happen way back then, but it still happens all the time. Just not at this kind of level, and certainly not for that purpose. That was a once in a earth time purpose. Like, look, we got to get rid of this frequency of this jacked up DNA, and the humans that are tainted by the frequency, they got to go too. Sorry. So do the dogs and the chickens and the goats and the cows and all the other stuff. They all got to go. Sorry, but we have to do it like this. Now, so let me tell you this. So we have something at least to work with. Because, you know, in this culture we all see movies. Or not in this culture. On planet Earth today. Because we the people. We the people. Of 21st century people. So we see these movies. Now, some of the movies we see, they're like scary, spooky movies. And in some of the scary, spooky movies, we see people getting stepped into by some weird entity beings and acting all weird and bizarre. Now, this kind of thing happens on this earth. It's been happening on this earth for a long, long time, and it still happens on this earth. It's just that in the movies, they're always dealing with the bad beings that are stepping into people and doing all kinds of weird crap to people. And they're always, you know, making it like, oh, it's a ghost, it's a demon, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And in the movie it is. But in real life, hey, both the, what is the best way to say this without freaking anybody out? Okay, I got it. Now, check this out. Okay, now this is biblical. Let's look at these old-timey prophets. Now, it's really made clear, like super, super clear. And this they talk about in church because it's all tame and it's all calm and all they're doing is really talking. Okay, they're not out going and slaughtering people. Yeah, they're just not doing that. And they're in amongst their own people. But the prophets, what are the prophet guys? The prophet guys are like these shaman guys. They're like shaman type people. And are they born for it? Yeah, they're born for it. They have a special kind of brain chemistry and all that kind of... I mean, it's not like everybody's born to be a prophet, okay? So let's get real. But these people are born for it, and they were doing their stuff. And believe it or not, this same kind of thing, not in that land and not pertaining to, here's the Bible, and this is the DNA strain of the Adam and Eve creatures, and we're following the DNA strain. No, but it happens in other places on Earth, still to this day. And if you watch National Geographics, you will know what I mean, especially if you look toward Asia, or especially if you look toward, you know, the jungles of South America or something. I mean, this is some shaman stuff. It still goes on, but not at these levels. Not at these levels that I'm talking about here. If you're living in the camps of the Hebrews back in those days, it was a different level. And it was a different level because it was a very, 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 very serious purpose. Don't forget, these people were being fed by rain. It was raining manna. Okay, this is like a freaky weirdo time. Like that time is like some freaky weirdo time. And that kind of freaky weirdo time, I mean, you know, I'm not so sure that has ever happened again. Or what, did it ever happen before? I don't know. But it was a freaky weirdo time. So we're talking about freaky weirdo stuff. This is massive, 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 massive mysticism. Massive mysticism. So everything I'm talking about now falls under the heading of massive mysticism, but because I'm talking about this is the plan of God, that was the Yahweh being, and because the Yahweh being sent his people, his extra-dimensional people, in to take care of this deal that had to be taken care of for the good of planet Earth. I mean, we're actually benefiting from this today. And then Jesus comes along and throws more benefit into it. But we're actually benefiting from this today. Believe it or not. I'm telling you the truth. We're benefiting from what I'm explaining to you today, no matter how scary and spooky it sounds. Oh, it's so spooky, it's so scary. Right for your lives. If that DNA strain of those beings that did not belong on Earth kept going and kept doing and kept taking over more and more territories, it would have really, really, really changed the planet. And God and Yahweh was not going to have that, because the planet and us are tied together. That's the plan. That's the plan. You know, and when I see the people destroying the earth, I'm just thinking, oh, Yahweh, you guys are so stupid. You're killing me with this crap. But anyway, that's the plan. That's the plan. That the humans and the earth are tied together. The humans run the earth. The free will of the humans run the earth. And let me throw this in real quick. That's why the rulers of this planet, the psychopath ruling class, elite types, they know this is how it is. They know this is the setup. That's why they always bend and reshape our thinking, because we create paradigms in our wake. Oh, Yahweh, please get that point already. I think I beat that thing to death, and I'm not going to stop either. Now, back to this little explanation. So, here you are. You're one of these people. Now, you're going to put yourself in one of their shoes, okay? You're one of these people. Now, you're an army man, one of these people. Because you're like the guy in the army. You got your sword and your shield and all your stuff and your spear, and you're learning how to do army man stuff. Okay, so that's who you are. You're learning martial skills. You're learning martial talents. But let me tell you another thing that was going on that is not so frigging apparent. Okay, and this is happening on the 4 components. Okay, the physical learning of martial arts, that's one thing. But the learning of martial arts in your other 3 components, that's something else entirely. Let me make this very clear, because you're one of those people now. Hopefully you picked some character out of this storyline and said, okay, well, I'm now one of these army people in this Hebrew army people, and I'm going to go and, slaughter, and I'm getting trained for battle and all that stuff. So, hopefully you put yourself in their shoes, and now you have, because the time's getting closer, and because you've done a few battles, and, the interdimensionals have been there helping out the whole time, because they're trying to show you something, because they're trying to prepare you for this really very serious thing into what we know as a promised land, to rid it of this horrible thing that's going to really destroy the planet, destroy the plan for this planet. And so